There was a night when a hunter named Kofi came back from the forest, holding nothing in his hands. The sun had set, and a strange silence covered the village. Kofi's heart was heavy. He had heard stories of strange beings living in the river nearby, but he never believed them, until that night when he saw her. Kofi sat alone by the fire, his bow leaning against a tree, when he heard soft singing from the direction of the river. It was gentle and sweet, yet filled with sadness. He grabbed his spear, curious and worried. The river was said to be the home of spirits, but no one ever spoke of seeing them. He had been to that river many times, but he had never seen anything out of the ordinary. Tonight was different. When he reached the riverbank, he saw a figure sitting on a rock in the water. At first, he thought it was a woman from the village. She was beautiful, her dark skin shining in the moonlight, and her hair flowed like water over her shoulders. But as Kofi looked closer, he realized she was not like any woman he had ever seen. Her lower body was not that of a human. She had the tail of a fish, long and covered in shiny scales. Kofi's heart raced. He should have turned back, but something held him there. Her eyes met his, and he froze. The sadness in her gaze drew him in, and he stepped closer, his curiosity overpowering his fear. "Who are you?" Kofi asked, his voice shaking. "I am Naima," she replied softly. "I have lived in this river for many years. I see the world, but I cannot be part of it." Kofi was silent for a moment. He had heard of mermaids in stories, but standing before one felt unreal. Yet, there she was, speaking to him. "Why are you sad?" Kofi asked, his spear still clutched tightly in his hand. "I am alone," Naima said, looking down at the water. "I have no one to share my days with. The river is wide, but it is cold and empty. I watch the people of your village laugh and love, but I am bound to this place." Kofi felt a strange tug at his heart. He had also felt alone for so long, hunting day and night, returning to an empty hut. Could he truly be feeling something for this creature of the river? For many days after that night, Kofi returned to the river. Naima would be waiting for him, sitting on the same rock. They spoke of their lives, their dreams, and their worlds. Kofi began to look forward to their meetings, and soon, the village noticed that he no longer came back with animals from his hunts. One day, as they sat together by the river, Kofi asked the question that had been on his mind for days. "Why can't you come with me to the village? Leave the river and be with me?" Naima's eyes filled with sadness. "I wish I could, Kofi. But I cannot leave the water. The river is my home, my prison. If I leave, I will wither and die." Kofi's heart sank. He had grown to love her, but he knew they could never be together. Yet, he couldn't stay away from her. The thought of her lonely in the river broke his heart. Then one evening, as the sun set behind the trees, Naima told Kofi there was a way they could be together. But it came with a heavy price. "You must come into the water, Kofi," she said softly. "Live with me in the river. You will be part of my world, but you can never return to yours." Kofi was torn. His love for Naima was strong, but the thought of leaving his village, his people, and the life he knew was too much. He stood at the edge of the water, his heart pounding. "Will you come?" Naima's voice was almost a whisper. Kofi closed his eyes, the weight of the choice heavy on his shoulders. He loved her, but could he truly give up everything for her? Could he leave the world he knew behind? For a long time he stood there, the water lapping at his feet, and the moon rising high in the sky. The river sang softly, calling to him. But Kofi did not step into the water. "I cannot," he whispered, his voice breaking. "I cannot leave my people." Naima's face showed no anger, only deep sadness. She nodded slowly, her eyes shining with tears. "Then this is goodbye, Kofi." With that, she turned and slid beneath the water, disappearing into the depths of the river, leaving Kofi standing alone on the shore. He never saw her again. From that day, Kofi never went to the river again. He returned to his life as a hunter, but the memory of Naima and their time together never left him. Sometimes, late at night, he would sit by the fire and listen for the soft song of the river, hoping to hear her voice one last time. But all he ever heard was the sound of the water, flowing quietly under the moonlight.